Ahmad Hassan wiped the sweat from his forehead as he stood in the burning heat outside the old palace gates. The sun was like fire in the sky, and his blue security guard uniform was already soaked with sweat, even though it was only 10 in the morning. He had been standing at this same spot for 3 long years watching tourists come and go with their big cameras and colorful guidebooks. Every morning, Ahmad woke up at 5:30 in his small house in the narrow streets of Old Lahore. The house had only 2 rooms where he lived with his mother and younger sister Fatima. His mother Rashida was 60 years old, and her back always hurt from years of washing clothes for rich families. His sister was 18 and very smart, but she could not go to college because they had no money for her education. Ahmad walked to work every day because he could not afford the bus fare. It took him 40 minutes to reach the palace, through the busy streets filled with rickshaws, bicycles, and cars honking loudly. The palace was very old and beautiful with tall walls made of red stone. Thousands of tourists came here every day to see the old rooms and gardens and take pictures. His job was simple but very boring. He had to check the bags of visitors to make sure they did not bring anything dangerous inside. He also had to answer their questions about which way to go and what time the palace closed. Most tourists spoke English very fast, and Ahmad sometimes could not understand what they wanted. Some were kind and said thank you, but many just pushed past him like he was invisible. The worst part of his job was standing in one place for 8 hours every day. His feet hurt so much by evening that he could barely walk home. In summer, the heat was terrible, and in winter the cold wind made his bones ache. He earned only 15,000 rupees every month, which was barely enough to buy food and medicine for his family. Ahmad had always dreamed of becoming a teacher. When he was young, he loved reading books about history and learning new things. He knew many stories about the old kings and queens who lived in the palace hundreds of years ago. He could tell tourists amazing facts about the beautiful paintings on the walls and the secret passages between rooms. But nobody ever asked him about these things because he was just a security guard. At home in the evenings, Ahmad would help his sister with her studies. Fatima was much smarter than him, and she wanted to become a doctor. But without money for college, her dreams seemed impossible. Ahmad felt sad that he could not help her. Sometimes late at night he would lie on his thin mattress and wonder if his life would always be the same. Every day was exactly like the day before. Wake up early, wash his face with cold water, eat a small breakfast of bread and tea, walk to work, stand in the heat, check bags, answer questions, walk home, eat dinner, and sleep. Then the next day would be exactly the same again. The other guards who worked with Ahmad were also poor men with big families to feed. They would sometimes talk about their problems during their short lunch break. Everyone had the same worries about money and the future. Some had been working at the palace for 10 or 15 years, and they were still earning the same small salary. Ahmad often looked at the rich tourists with their expensive clothes and cameras and wondered what it would feel like to travel to different countries and see new places. They seemed so free and happy while he was trapped in the same routine every single day. He dreamed about having enough money to send his sister to college and buy medicine for his mother and maybe even travel somewhere far away. But dreams were just dreams, and Ahmad knew that poor people like him rarely got chances to change their lives. He accepted his fate and tried to be grateful for having any job at all. Little did he know that this ordinary day would be the last normal day of his life, and that everything was about to change in the most unexpected way possible. Sarah Mitchell was running through the palace courtyard with her heavy camera bag bouncing on her shoulder. She was a travel blogger from Australia who had been visiting different countries for 2 years, writing about beautiful places and interesting cultures. Her blog had thousands of readers who loved to see her photos and read her stories about the amazing places she visited. Sarah had blonde hair and bright blue eyes, and she was wearing a light cotton dress perfect for the hot Pakistani weather. She had been in Lahore for 3 days, and tomorrow she would fly to her next destination in India. Today was her last chance to get the perfect sunset photo of the palace for her blog post about Pakistani culture and history. The afternoon sun was getting lower in the sky, and Sarah knew she had to hurry to reach the best spot for taking pictures. She had spent the whole morning exploring the inside of the palace and taking notes about the beautiful artwork and old furniture. Her readers always wanted to know every detail about the places she visited, so she worked very hard to give them interesting information. As Sarah rushed toward the main gate, she was looking at her camera screen, checking the photos she had taken earlier. She was not watching where she was walking because she was too focused on her work. The palace courtyard was full of people, tourists, guides, and local vendors selling tea, snacks, and souvenirs to visitors. An old man named Bashir had been selling tea at the palace for 20 years. He carried a big metal pot full of hot steaming tea and small glass cups on a wooden tray. The tea was very popular with tourists because it was made with milk, sugar, and special spices that gave it a wonderful smell and taste. Bashir made good money from selling tea because many visitors wanted to try the local flavors. Sarah was walking very fast while looking down at her camera when she bumped straight into Bashir, who was carrying his heavy pot of boiling hot tea. The collision was sudden and unexpected. Sarah stumbled backward, and Bashir lost his balance, trying not to fall down. The big metal pot flew out of his hands, and all the scalding hot tea splashed everywhere. Most of the burning tea landed directly on Ahmad, who was standing at his security post just a few feet away. The boiling liquid soaked through his uniform and burned his arms, chest, and shoulders. The pain was immediate and terrible. Ahmad screamed loudly and fell to his knees, clutching his burned skin. The hot tea felt like fire on his body, and he could not stop crying from the intense pain. Other security guards ran over to help Ahmad, while tourists gathered around taking photos and videos with their phones. Some people were trying to help, but most were just watching and recording what was happening. Bashir was very upset about losing all his tea and the money he would have made from selling it. He started shouting at Sarah in Urdu, telling her she was careless and clumsy. Sarah stood frozen in shock, staring at Ahmad, who was rolling on the ground in terrible pain. She could see his skin was red and burned where the hot tea had hit him. She realized that her carelessness had caused serious injury to an innocent person who was just doing his job. Her heart was beating fast, and she felt sick with guilt and worry. The other guards were trying to cool Ahmad's burns with water from a nearby fountain, but he was still crying and shaking from the pain. His uniform was completely ruined and stuck to his burned skin. Sarah knew she had to do something quickly to help him, but she was not sure what to do in this situation in a foreign country where she did not speak the language very well. Sarah quickly put her camera away and rushed to Ahmad, who was still on the ground crying from the terrible pain. Most of the tourists around them were just watching and taking pictures, but Sarah knew she had to help immediately. She knelt down beside Ahmad and started speaking to him in broken Urdu mixed with English, trying to tell him she was very sorry and wanted to help him. Ahmad was in too much pain to understand what Sarah was saying, but he could see the worry and concern in her blue eyes. The other security guards were standing around not knowing what to do because they had never dealt with such a serious accident before. Some were telling Ahmad to just go home and rest, but Sarah could see that his burns were very bad and needed proper medical treatment right away. Sarah stood up and started asking people in the crowd if anyone spoke English well. A young Pakistani man who worked as a tour guide came forward, and Sarah quickly explained what had happened. She asked him to translate for her so she could talk to Ahmad and help him get to a hospital for treatment. Through the translator, Sarah told Ahmad that she would take him to the best hospital in Lahore and pay for all his medical treatment. Ahmad tried to protest, saying he could not accept help from a stranger and that he had no money to pay her back. But Sarah insisted that it was her fault he was hurt, and she would not leave him suffering because of her mistake. Sarah called for a taxi using her phone and helped Ahmad stand up, even though he was still shaking from pain. The taxi driver was reluctant to take them because Ahmad's burned clothes might damage his car seats, but Sarah offered to pay extra money, and the driver agreed. She carefully helped Ahmad into the taxi and told the driver to go to the biggest hospital in the city. During the taxi ride, Sarah held Ahmad's hand and kept telling him everything would be okay. She used her phone to translate simple Urdu phrases so she could comfort him better. Ahmad had never experienced such kindness from a stranger, especially from a foreign tourist. Most visitors to the palace treated the guards like they were invisible, but this woman was treating him like he was her own family member. At the hospital, Sarah immediately went to the reception desk and told them she would pay for all treatment needed for Ahmad's burns. The hospital staff were surprised to see a foreign woman taking care of a local security guard, but they quickly admitted Ahmad and took him to the emergency room. Sarah filled out all the paperwork and paid the admission fees without hesitation. The doctors examined Ahmad's burns and said they were second-degree burns that would need special treatment and medication. They cleaned his wounds carefully and applied cool bandages to reduce the pain and prevent infection. Sarah stayed with Ahmad the entire time, translating when needed and making sure he got the best possible care. After the doctors finished treating Ahmad's burns, Sarah went to a nearby shop and bought him new clothes to replace his ruined uniform. She also bought fruits, flowers, and magazines to make him feel better during his recovery. The hospital staff were amazed by her generosity and kindness towards someone she had just met. Sarah arranged for Ahmad to have a private room so he could rest comfortably without being disturbed by other patients. She paid for 3 days of hospital stay and all the medicines he would need for healing. When Ahmad tried to thank her and ask why she was being so kind to him, Sarah simply said that helping people was the right thing to do, and she could not just walk away after causing him pain. That evening, Sarah sat beside Ahmad's hospital bed, and they tried to communicate despite the language barrier. Ahmad was feeling much better thanks to the pain medication and proper treatment. He kept looking at Sarah with amazement, wondering why this foreign woman cared so much about helping him when his own countrymen often ignored people like him. Sarah could see that Ahmad was a good person with kind eyes and a gentle manner. Even though he was in pain, he was polite and grateful for her help. She decided she would visit him every day until he was completely healed, because she felt responsible for his well-being and wanted to make sure he recovered fully from the accident she had caused. Every morning for the next 3 days, Sarah came to visit Ahmad in the hospital. She brought him fresh fruits, traditional Pakistani sweets, and books to help him pass the time while he recovered from his burns. Ahmad was getting better each day, and the doctors said his wounds were healing very well because of the good treatment he received. On the second day, Sarah brought a small English to Urdu dictionary so they could communicate better with each other. Ahmad knew some English from school, but he was shy about speaking it because he was afraid of making mistakes. Sarah encouraged him to practice and told him not to worry about perfect grammar because she also made mistakes when trying to speak Urdu. As they talked more, Ahmad began to open up about his life and his dreams. He told Sarah about his mother, who worked so hard washing clothes for rich families, and how her back always hurt from the heavy work. He explained how his sister Fatima was very intelligent and wanted to become a doctor, but they had no money to send her to medical college. Ahmad also shared his own dream of becoming a teacher. He had always loved learning about history, especially the stories of the old kings and queens who lived in the beautiful palace where he worked as a guard. He knew amazing facts about the architecture, the artwork, and the secret stories that happened in those ancient rooms hundreds of years ago. Sarah was fascinated by Ahmad's knowledge and passion for history. She had visited many historical places around the world, but she had never met someone who could tell such interesting stories about the local culture and traditions. Ahmad spoke about the palace like it was alive with memories, and Sarah could see his eyes light up when he talked about the things he loved. Sarah told Ahmad about her own life traveling around the world and writing about different cultures for her blog. She explained how she had been to over 30 countries in the past 2 years, but sometimes felt lonely because she had no family or close friends to share her experiences with. She was always moving from place to place and never staying long enough to build real relationships with people. Ahmad was amazed to learn that Sarah made money by writing about the places she visited and taking photographs. He had never imagined that someone could earn a living by traveling and sharing stories about different countries. Sarah showed him her blog on her laptop, and Ahmad was impressed by the beautiful photos and interesting articles she had written about various places. Sarah was surprised by how much Ahmad knew about world history and geography, despite never traveling outside Pakistan. He asked her thoughtful questions about the countries she had visited and made intelligent comments about the cultural differences she described. She realized that Ahmad was much more educated and knowledgeable than most people gave him credit for. During their conversations, Sarah learned that Ahmad had finished high school but could not afford to go to university. He spent his free time reading books from the public library and teaching himself about subjects that interested him. He was particularly fascinated by stories of cultural exchange between different civilizations and how trade and travel spread ideas around the world. Ahmad was curious about Sarah's work and asked her many questions about how she chose which places to write about and how she made her articles interesting for readers. Sarah explained that people love to read authentic stories about real local culture rather than typical tourist information they could find in guidebooks. Sarah began to realize that Ahmad would be perfect for helping her write more authentic and meaningful content about Pakistan. He understood the real culture and history in a way that no tourist guide could teach her. His stories about daily life in Lahore and the traditions of his people were much more interesting than anything she had read in travel books. As the days passed, Sarah and Ahmad became real friends despite coming from completely different backgrounds. They discovered they both loved learning new things and believed that understanding different cultures could make the world a better place. Neither of them knew it yet, but their friendship was about to change both of their lives in ways they never could have imagined. On Sarah's last day in Lahore, she came to visit Ahmad one final time before catching her flight to India. Ahmad was feeling much better, and the doctors had said he could go home the next day. His burns were healing well, and he would be able to return to work at the palace in about a week. Sarah felt happy that he was recovering, but also sad that she had to leave her new friend. During their final conversation, Sarah had been thinking about an idea that could help both of them. She had been impressed by Ahmad's deep knowledge of Pakistani culture and his natural ability to tell fascinating stories about his country. She realized that most travel bloggers like herself only saw the surface of the places they visited, but Ahmad understood the real heart and soul of Pakistan. Sarah explained to Ahmad that many of her blog readers were always asking for more authentic and detailed information about the countries she wrote about. They'd wanted to know about real daily life local traditions and the stories that only native people could tell. Sarah often struggled to provide this depth because she was always an outsider looking in. Sarah told Ahmad about her idea. She wanted him to become her local content partner and help her create authentic stories about Pakistan for her blog and social media accounts. Ahmad would write articles about Pakistani culture, history, daily life, and traditions from the perspective of someone who actually lived there and understood it completely. Ahmad listened with amazement as Sarah explained that she would pay him a monthly salary of 45,000 rupees, which was 3 times more than he earned as a security guard. He would be able to work from home using a laptop and internet connection that Sarah would provide for him. His job would be to write stories, take photos, and create content about authentic Pakistani life. Ahmad could hardly believe what he was hearing. This opportunity seemed like something from a dream, not something that could happen to a poor security guard like him. He asked Sarah if she was really serious about this offer and why she would trust him with such an important job when she barely knew him. Sarah explained that she had traveled to many countries and met hundreds of people, but she had rarely found someone with Ahmad's combination of knowledge, passion, and genuine character. She could see that he was honest, hardworking, and truly cared about sharing the beauty of this culture with others. These qualities were exactly what she needed in a business partner. Sarah showed Ahmad examples of the type of content she wanted him to create. She explained that he could write about local festivals, traditional foods, family celebrations, historical sites, and the daily experiences of ordinary Pakistani people. His authentic voice and insider knowledge would give readers a real understanding of Pakistani culture that no foreign blogger could provide. Ahmad was excited but also nervous about taking such a big risk. Leaving his secure job as a guard to work with someone he had just met seemed very dangerous, especially when his family depended on his income. Sarah understood his concerns and offered to pay him his first 3 months' salary immediately, so he would have financial security while learning his new job. Sarah also promised to teach Ahmad everything he needed to know about digital marketing, social media, and online content creation. She would connect him with other successful bloggers and content creators who could help him develop his skills. She believed that within a year, Ahmad could build his own following and become financially independent. The most amazing part of Sarah's offer was that Ahmad would be able to work from home and spend more time with his family. He could help his sister with her studies and take better care of his mother while earning much more money than he ever had before. The flexibility of working online would give him freedom he had never experienced. Ahmad asked for 1 day to think about the offer and discuss it with his family. Sarah agreed and gave him her contact information so he could reach her anytime. She also gave him a tablet computer so he could start practicing writing and taking photos even before making his final decision. That night, Ahmad lay in his hospital bed thinking about the incredible opportunity Sarah had offered him. Part of him was afraid to take such a big risk, but another part of him felt more excited than he had ever felt in his entire life. This could be his chance to escape poverty and build a better future for his whole family. When Ahmad returned home from the hospital, he had a long conversation with his mother and sister about Sarah's incredible offer. His mother Rashida was worried about him leaving a steady job to work with a foreign woman he had just met. She had seen too many people in their neighborhood get cheated by false promises, and she did not want her son to lose the only income their family had. But Fatima was excited about her brother's opportunity. She had always known Ahmad was too smart and talented to spend his whole life as a security guard. She encouraged him to take the risk because she believed he could succeed at anything he put his mind to. Fatima reminded her mother that their current situation was already very difficult, and this chance could help their whole family have a better life. Ahmad spent 2 days thinking about the decision. He walked around his old neighborhood, looking at the small houses, the narrow streets, and the struggling families trying to survive on very little money. He realized that if he stayed in his security guard job, he would probably be poor for the rest of his life and never be able to help his sister go to college or give his mother a comfortable retirement. Finally, Ahmad called Sarah and told her he wanted to accept her offer. Sarah was very happy and immediately arranged to send him a laptop computer and all the equipment he would need to start working. She also transferred his first month's salary to his bank account as she had promised. Ahmad had never seen so much money in his account at one time. Ahmad went to the palace and told his supervisor that he was quitting his job as a security guard. His supervisor was surprised and asked Ahmad what other job he had found. When Ahmad explained about working with a foreign blogger to write about Pakistani culture, his supervisor laughed and said he was making a big mistake. Most of the other guards also thought Ahmad was being foolish to leave a secure job for something that sounded too good to be true. But Ahmad had made up his mind, and he felt confident about his decision. Sarah had already started teaching him about digital marketing and content creation through video calls. She was patient and encouraging, and Ahmad learned quickly because he was very motivated to succeed. Within a week, he had created his first email account and learned how to use social media platforms. Sarah gave Ahmad his first assignment, which was to write an article about the daily life of families in Old Lahore. Ahmad spent 3 days researching and writing the article, making sure to include interesting details that foreign readers would find fascinating. He wrote about the morning routines of Pakistani families, the traditional breakfast foods, the busy markets, and the way neighbors helped each other in close-knit communities. When Ahmad sent his first article to Sarah, she was amazed by the quality of his writing and the authentic details he included. The article was much better than she had expected, and she knew immediately that her instinct about Ahmad had been correct. She published the article on her blog, and it received hundreds of comments from readers who loved learning about real Pakistani culture. Within 2 weeks, Ahmad's first article had been shared thousands of times on social media. Readers were commenting that they had never read such an authentic and interesting description of daily life in Pakistan. Many people said they wanted to visit Lahore after reading Ahmed's beautiful descriptions of the city and its people. Sarah was so pleased with Ahmed's work that she gave him a bonus payment and asked him to write 2 more articles. She also introduced him to other travel bloggers who were interested in authentic content about South Asian culture. Ahmed began receiving offers to write for other websites and blogs, which meant he could earn even more money. Ahmed's second article was about Pakistani wedding traditions, and his third was about the history of Lahore's famous food street. Both articles became very popular and established Ahmed as an expert writer about Pakistani culture. He was earning more money in 1 month than he used to earn in 3 months as a security guard. The best part for Ahmed was that he could work from home and spend time with his family while earning a good living. He helped his sister apply for college scholarships and took his mother to see a specialist doctor for her back problems. For the first time in his life, Ahmed felt hopeful about the future and proud of his accomplishments. Within 3 months, Ahmed had built a small following of his own on social media, and several companies had contacted him about writing promotional content about Pakistani tourism. He realized that Sarah's offer had not just given him a job, but had opened the door to a completely new career that he never knew existed. 6 months after starting his new career, Ahmad had become one of the most popular writers about Pakistani culture on the internet. His articles were being read by thousands of people from all over the world who wanted to learn about authentic Pakistani traditions, food, and daily life. Sarah's blog had grown significantly because of the high-quality content Ahmad was providing, and they had become true business partners. Ahmad had learned to use professional photography equipment, and his pictures of Lahore's streets, markets, and people were as popular as his writing. He discovered he had a natural talent for capturing the beauty and emotion of everyday moments in Pakistani life. His photos showed foreign readers the real Pakistan beyond the stereotypes they might have seen in news reports. Travel companies began contacting Ahmad to help them create authentic Pakistani tour experiences for international visitors. He designed cultural tours that took tourists to local families' homes, traditional craft workshops, and hidden historical sites that most guidebooks never mentioned. These tours were very successful because Ahmed understood both what foreign visitors wanted to see and what local people were proud to share. Ahmad started offering online Urdu language lessons to foreigners who wanted to learn the language before visiting Pakistan. His teaching style was fun and practical, focusing on phrases that would help tourists communicate with local people and understand Pakistani culture better. Within a few months, he had over 200 students from different countries taking his online classes. The money Ahmad was earning had completely changed his family's life. He moved his mother and sister to a bigger house in a better neighborhood with proper electricity and running water. His sister Fatima was now attending medical college with a scholarship Ahmad helped her obtain, and his mother was receiving regular treatment for her health problems from a good doctor. Ahmad also hired 3 of his former colleagues from the palace to help him with his growing business. He taught them how to write articles, take photographs, and manage social media accounts. These men had families to support just like Ahmad once did, and he was happy to share his success with them. Together, they created more content and could accept more projects from international clients. Sarah visited Ahmad in Lahore again after 6 months and was amazed by how much his life had changed. Ahmad had become confident and successful, but he was still the same kind and humble person she had met in the hospital. They celebrated their business partnership and friendship at a traditional Pakistani restaurant where Ahmad introduced Sarah to many local dishes she had never tried before. During Sarah's visit, they launched a new project together called Cultural Bridge, which connected young Pakistanis with international mentors who could help them learn digital skills and start online businesses. Ahmad's success story inspired many other young people in Pakistan to believe they could also change their lives through hard work and determination. Ahmad began speaking at universities and business conferences in Lahore and Karachi, sharing his story of transformation from security guard to successful entrepreneur. His talks were always packed with young people who wanted to learn how they could use the internet to create opportunities for themselves and their families. Local newspapers and television stations started interviewing Ahmad about his remarkable journey from poverty to success. He became a role model for many Pakistani youth who felt trapped by lack of opportunities. Ahmad always emphasized that his success was built on hard work, continuous learning, and the kindness of one person who believed in him. Ahmad's social media following had grown to over 50,000 people who eagerly read his posts about Pakistani culture and his personal journey. He received messages every day from people around the world thanking him for helping them understand and appreciate Pakistani culture. Many said his content had changed their negative perceptions about Pakistan and made them want to visit the country. The transformation in Ahmad's life seemed almost magical, but he knew it was the result of seizing an unexpected opportunity and working extremely hard to make the most of it. He often thought about that terrible day when he was burned by hot tea and realized that sometimes the worst moments in life can lead to the most wonderful changes. Ahmad's success had grown far beyond what either he or Sarah had originally imagined. What started as a simple content writing job had become a thriving business that employed several people and was making a positive impact on how the world viewed Pakistani culture and people. As Ahmad's success continued to grow, he never forgot where he came from or the struggles of poor families in his old neighborhood. Every time he walked past the small house where he used to live with his mother and sister, he remembered the days when they worried about having enough money for food and medicine. These memories motivated him to use his success to help other people who were facing the same challenges he once faced. Ahmad decided to start a scholarship program for young people from poor families who wanted to learn computer skills and digital marketing. He rented a small building in his old neighborhood and equipped it with computers and internet connections. Every Saturday, Ahmad would teach free classes to teenagers who could not afford to pay for computer education at expensive private institutes. The community center Ahmad created became very popular, and soon he had over 100 students attending classes every week. He taught them how to create websites, write online content, use social media for business, and develop digital marketing skills. Many of his students started earning money by creating content for local businesses or offering online services to international clients. Ahmad also partnered with local NGOs to provide training programs for unemployed young men and women. He knew that many talented people in Pakistan had no opportunities to use their abilities because they lacked access to technology and training. His programs helped bridge this gap and gave people practical skills they could use to improve their lives. Every month, Ahmad would visit the palace where he used to work as a security guard. He would spend time talking to the current guards, sharing his story, and encouraging them to pursue their dreams. Many of the guards were amazed by his transformation and asked him for advice about how they could also change their lives. Ahmad hired several of his former colleagues to work for his content creation business. He taught them everything he had learned about digital marketing, photography, and writing. These men were able to quit their low-paying security jobs and earn much better salaries while working in a more comfortable environment. Their families were grateful to Ahmad for giving them these opportunities. One of Ahmad's most successful initiatives was creating a program that connected talented young Pakistanis with international clients who needed content creation services. Ahmad used his network of contacts from around the world to find work opportunities for people in his community. This program helped dozens of young people start their own online businesses and become financially independent. Ahmad also worked with local schools to provide computer and internet access to students from poor families. He donated equipment and paid for internet connections so children could learn digital skills from a young age. Teachers at these schools said Ahmad's contributions were helping their students compete for scholarships and opportunities they never would have had access to before. The local government recognized Ahmad's contributions to his community and invited him to serve on a committee focused on youth development and digital literacy. Ahmad accepted this position because he wanted to help create policies that would give more young people opportunities to succeed in the digital economy. Ahmad's story began inspiring people throughout Pakistan, and even in other countries. International development organizations invited him to speak at conferences about using technology to reduce poverty and create opportunities for disadvantaged communities. Ahmad was honored by these invitations, but he always made sure his speaking engagements did not interfere with his work, helping people in his own community. Sarah continued to be Ahmad's business partner and friend, and she was amazed by how he was using his success to help others. She wrote articles about Ahmad's community development work, which brought international attention to his programs. Several foreign organizations offered to provide funding for Ahmad's educational initiatives, which allowed him to expand his programs and help even more people. Ahmad established a small foundation that provided microloans to women in his neighborhood who wanted to start small businesses. Many of these women had good business ideas, but no access to credit from traditional banks. Ahmad's foundation helped them get started and provided mentoring to help their businesses succeed. The transformation Ahmad had brought to his community was remarkable. Streets that used to be filled with unemployed young men were now busy with people working on computers and learning new skills. Children who might have dropped out of school were staying in education because they could see real opportunities for their future. Ahmad often reflected on how one moment of unexpected kindness from a stranger had created ripple effects that were now helping hundreds of people improve their lives. He understood that success meant nothing if it was not shared with others, and he was determined to continue using his opportunities to create positive change in his community. 2 years after the tea accident that changed his life, Ahmad received a special invitation that made him feel incredibly proud and emotional. The management of the historic palace where he used to work as a security guard asked him to be the guest speaker at an international cultural conference being held at the palace. The conference would bring together tourism officials, travel writers, and cultural ambassadors from around the world to discuss promoting authentic cultural experiences. Ahmad could hardly believe he was being invited to speak as an expert at the same place where he once stood for hours checking visitors' bags and earning barely enough money to feed his family. The young man who used to dream about becoming a teacher was now recognized as one of Pakistan's leading authorities on cultural tourism and digital storytelling. Sarah flew from Australia to attend Ahmad's presentation because she wanted to support her friend and business partner on this important day. She was incredibly proud of how far Ahmad had come and how he had used their partnership to create opportunities not just for himself, but for many other people in his community. Their friendship had grown stronger over the years, and they had become like family to each other. On the day of his presentation, Ahmad wore a traditional Pakistani outfit and stood confidently in front of an audience of 200 international visitors and local dignitaries. He began his speech by telling the story of his transformation from security guard to successful entrepreneur, emphasizing how one act of kindness from a stranger had completely changed the course of his life. Ahmad spoke passionately about the importance of authentic cultural exchange and how local people should be partners in tourism rather than just service providers. He explained how his work with Sarah had shown him that foreign visitors wanted real connections with local culture, not just superficial tourist experiences. His message resonated strongly with the audience, who gave him enthusiastic applause throughout his presentation. After his speech, Ahmad was approached by tourism officials from several other countries who wanted to implement similar programs in their own nations. They were impressed by how Ahmad had used digital platforms to share authentic cultural stories and create economic opportunities for local communities. Several universities also invited Ahmad to speak to their students about entrepreneurship and cultural preservation. During the conference break, Ahmad walked through the palace gardens where he used to eat his simple lunch as a security guard. The memories seemed like they belonged to a different lifetime. He thought about how dramatically his circumstances had changed, but also how his core values of hard work, kindness, and helping others had remained the same throughout his journey. Ahmad noticed a young security guard standing at the same post where he used to work. The guard looked tired and bored, just as Ahmad had felt every day for 3 years. Ahmad approached the young man and struck up a conversation, learning that his name was Hassan, and he was supporting his widowed mother and 2 younger brothers on his small salary. Ahmad shared his own story with Hassan, and offered to mentor him in developing digital skills that could lead to better opportunities. He gave Hassan his contact information and invited him to attend the free computer classes at Ahmad's community center. Ahmad saw the same spark of intelligence and ambition in Hassan's eyes that Sarah had recognized in him 2 years earlier. That evening, the palace hosted a cultural dinner for all the conference participants. Ahmad sat at the head table as an honored guest alongside government ministers and international dignitaries. He remembered the days when he would walk home hungry because he could not afford to buy lunch, and marveled at how completely his life had transformed. During the dinner, Sarah stood up to make a toast honoring Ahmad's achievements and the positive impact he had made on so many lives. She spoke about how their accidental meeting had taught her that the most meaningful travel experiences come from genuine human connections rather than just visiting famous landmarks. The entire audience applauded Ahmad, who felt overwhelmed with gratitude and happiness. After the conference, Ahmad continued his work helping young people in his community develop digital skills and start online businesses. His foundation had grown to serve over 500 families, and his educational programs were being replicated in other cities across Pakistan. Ahmad had become living proof that with determination, support from others, and a willingness to seize unexpected opportunities, anyone could transform their life and help others do the same. The story of Ahmad and Sarah had become an inspiration to people around the world, showing how a single moment of kindness between strangers could create ripple effects that changed many lives for the better. Their partnership demonstrated that when people from different cultures work together with mutual respect and understanding, they can accomplish remarkable things that benefit everyone involved. Ahmad often looked back on that painful day when hot tea burned his skin and realized it was actually the luckiest day of his life because it led him to meet Sarah and discover possibilities he never knew existed. The accident that seemed like a disaster at the time had actually been the beginning of the most wonderful chapter of his life.